and welcome to lesson 2 of our guided reading cycle where we are looking at the story Cole's Kingdom. Now, yesterday we were still in chapter 1 and the last line said, I want you all on your best behaviour, all right, said Mum, as they climbed from the car. Now, if you remember that Cole and his brother, sister, Mum and Dad have gone to Grandma's house, and they're going to help her move out of her house. Your grandma doesn't need you running or shouting or moaning. This is a sad day for her, packing up her belongings to leave the house that she's lived in for so long. So be nice. If you notice that sentence there, be is in italics. This is because Mum is emphasising the word be. When you emphasise something, you make it more important. So be nice. And that's italics where the writing is slanting over to the right. But why have we got to help? Liam complained as they unloaded empty cardboard boxes from the boot. I've got to practice, you know. Not content with having recently won the county swimming championship, Liam had also just earned his grade 5 saxophone and was now learning to play the guitar. A saxophone is a bit like a trumpet. It's a musical instrument. And this whole line, it says here, not content with having recently won the county swimming championship. Not content with, it means not happy with having just won this. He also wants to practice his 2 musical instruments. Mum had once asked Cole if he would like to learn to play an instrument, but he knew that this particular achievement, like many others, was already taken. What that means is Liam achieves lots of different things, so Cole feels like, well, what can I do? Please don't tell me that I have to listen to any more of your music, Mara moaned. There's only so much clanging and chattering and squealing I can take. If you take a look at the word music, it's in single inverted commas. And what this means is that Mara is being sarcastic. It's not really music. She's saying it's like music. So it's her way of being a bit rude and sarcastic. You can work with me if you like, Cole offered. We'll go to the spare room. You remember, the one with the spider webs big enough to catch whole birds. There'll be goblins under the bed and ghosts in the sheet. Goblins are like monsters. No, thank you, said Mara. You're always telling tales. How about we pack up the study, said Mum. We can decide which books to keep. That's more like it. Mara grabbed her bag and sprang up from the steps to the front door. Cole suspected that Mara would spend all day reading rather than helping. For someone who loved books, she couldn't stand it when Cole came up with his own unique brand of story. So when Cole comes up with his own special stories, his own unique brand means his own special kind of story. Inside the house, Grandma Jenny was sitting in her usual green armchair, a cold cup of tea on the table beside her. She looked smaller and paler than the last time the family had visited, almost swamped by the intricately patterned blanket drawn over her knees. When you're swamped by something, you're absolutely covered up by it. So the grandma is obviously small and the blanket is huge. It bore tiny images, so it had tiny images of outdoor scenes all woven together like a collage. She wrapped herself in it, even on the hottest of summer days, and even though it looked old and weathered, it was still soft to the touch. It was her armour. So your armour, if you think about a knight from olden times that would wear a metal armour that would protect them, and that's what Grandma's blanket does for her. It protects her from the world. She dozed, so Cole woke her up by resting his warm hand on her wrinkled one. So doze means to sleep. Hiya, Grandma. Cole, is that you? Said Grandma Jenny, waking slowly and blinking to bring the world into focus. Her grey eyes were still bright. Give us a kiss and a cup of tea. I don't mind which comes first. Cole stooped, so he bent over. He stooped to plant a kiss on Grandma's cheek, and she grinned. Kiss it is. Now tell me everything that you've been up to since I last saw you. Once the rest of the family had greeted Grandma and begun to traipse through the house, traipse is to walk somewhere, with empty boxes and suitcases to fill, Cole told Grandma Jenny about his friend Leo and his birthday party at the trampoline centre that had ended with a trip to A&E and Leo's arm in plaster. He told her about his new English teacher who started every class reciting a sonnet. A sonnet is a type of rhyme that Shakespeare used. So this English teacher starts every lesson with a rhyme that Shakespeare wrote. He told her about how their cat had got herself stuck in the next door neighbour's tree and how he had climbed the tree to fetch her down. Grandma smiled and nodded and asked questions in all the right places. She was the only person who never got bored when Cole told his stories. He knew that he wasn't accomplished like Liam, or because Liam does lots of things. Remember, he does musical instruments, he does swimming championships, he has lots of awards, he's very accomplished like Liam, or brainy like Mara, but he was what his headmistress would call a chatterbox. So that's someone who likes to talk. And she was yowling the whole time I was carrying her down. It was like this. Cole yowled long and loud. So a yowl is kind of like a howl that a cat makes when it's unhappy. She scratched my shoulder a lot, but I didn't mind. I just wanted her to be safe. Cole, said Mum, we're dying of thirst out here. She brought in another armload of empty boxes from the car, her face beaded with sweat. Stop talking Grandma's ear off. Could you get us something to drink, please? So far, we're getting to know the family. We know that Grandma and Cole have a special relationship because she likes to listen to his stories. We know that his sister Mara is a bit mean to him and she loves to read. We know that his brother Liam is very accomplished. He's got awards, he's good at sports and all of those things. And that Grandma is having to move out of her home because she's too old to live there alone. Let's take a look at some questions about word meanings. So please write number 1 down on your paper. And the question is, what do the words sprang up tell us about how Mara moved? Now look at the question, look at the extract here at the top. That's more like it. Mara grabbed her bag and sprang up the steps to the front door. So please pause the video and write down what the word sprang up tells us about how Mara moved. Okay, now I'm going to show you a picture here, and this is a spring. And when you squash a spring, it shoots up open. We have these in our sofas and in our beds, and you have them in some toys. And when you squash a spring, when you compress it down, it bursts up, so it moves very quickly. So you should have written the word sprang up tells us that Mara moved quickly, and that you could say also she moved upwards. So she was very fast. Question 2, please write that down. It says, which word is the most suitable synonym for brainy? Now look at the extract. He knew that he wasn't accomplished like Liam or brainy like Mara, but he was what his headmistress would call a chatterbox. And a synonym is the same meaning. You've got 4 words. You've got thoughtful, big-headed, skillful, and intelligent. So which of those words means brainy? Please pause the video, do the answer, and then we'll go through the answer together. Okay, so the answer is intelligent. Intelligent and brainy are synonyms. They mean the same thing. The word thoughtful means that you think about other people's feelings. So, for example, if you saw a teacher carrying lots of heavy books and they were coming to a door and you opened the door for them, you are being thoughtful. Big-headed is somebody who thinks that they're the best at everything and is very arrogant and full of themselves, and they're always saying how good they are at everything. Skillful means that you are very good at something. So if you're a good footballer, you could say you're a skillful footballer. Question 3. So the extract is, "No thank you," said Mara, "you're always telling tales." The question is, can you think of a synonym, so a word which means the same, for tales in the example above? Press pause, write your answer, and then we'll go through it together. Okay, so the answer is stories. Tales means stories. It is different from T-A-I-L, which is what an animal, a dog or a cat has. So a dog wags its tail. This word means stories. Well, thank you for listening to this lesson. In lesson 3, we will be continuing with chapter 1 of Cole's Kingdom. We'll be looking at more vocabulary and at some more questions to see if you can understand the vocabulary in the story. So thanks for listening, and I will see you